Okay, we're Group G. We're presenting on cyber warfare. I'm Charlie Canoni, and I'm along with Chris Herbert and Josh Johnson. And I'm going to start with the abstract. Security concerns over the growing capability of cyber warfare are in the forefront of national policy and security discussions. There's been a threat to the world since the creation and reliance of computers and technology. Cyber warfare poses a threat not only to the United States, but to every other nation in the world. This paper is designed to educate and inform on the threats cyber warfare pose. We discuss forms of cyber warfare, occurrences of cyber warfare in the past, effects of a cyber attack, and defenses against cyber attacks. A cyber attack poses a threat not only to our nation's security, but our own. We hope that our readers will understand the issue and have a greater concern for it.
Hello, I'm Chris Herbert, and this is our introduction. Cyber warfare has become a bit of a problem in the past few years. It's pertinent for our nation's security and welfare for this to be combated. Cyber warfare is politically motivated hacking to conduct sabotage and espionage. There are methods of which hackers can use to conduct their cyber warfare. These methods include, but are not limited to, espionage and national security breaches, sabotage, and electrical grid hacking. There are also several means for committing such acts, be it through military or civil to even the private sector. Cyber warfare is different too for each country, and their counterintelligence tactics are different too, because each country is not always hacked the same as another country. We will discuss what cyber warfare is and the effects it has in further detail in the following paragraphs.
For the background, in order to be prepared for the future, we must understand the past. In an ever-developing technological world that we live in today, cyber warfare has highly developed in multiple ways since its first instances beginning in the 1970s. The cyber attacks began as hacker forums emerged in 1979. This was just the beginning, and it began a trend of people wanting to hack computer systems and networks. Since the late 70s, early 80s, there were not many major occurrences of hacking between nations. However, in 1994, a group of hackers led by Vladimir Lenin of Russia stole millions of dollars from Citibank through its dial-up wire transfer service. 4 years later, the US government saw their first set of attacks on their computer systems. They codenamed the attacks Titan and Rain and eventually traced them back to China. There's also been attacks between other nations outside of the United States. In April to May of 2007, hackers believed to be linked to the Russian government brought down the sites of Estonia's parliament, banks, ministries, newspapers, and broadcasters. In June and July of 2008, Lithuania saw their first set of attacks from hackers believed to be Russian nationalists. These nationalists hacked corporate and government websites and left Soviet-era graffiti. It seems that this has sparked a trend of cyber attacks from Russia, and they have come about as one of the biggest threats to the world when it comes to cyber attacks. Russian hackers hijacked government and commercial websites during a military conflict with Georgia. In 2009, servers were shut down in Kyrgyzstan and Kazakhstan during conflicts with Russia as well. Many other attacks have occurred since then, and this has led to the creation of the United States Cyber Command, which oversees the production and defense of military networks from cyber threats. The United States Cyber Command, or US Cybercom, is an armed forces sub-unified command subordinate to the United States Strategic Command. It's located in Fort Meade, Maryland, and is led by General Keith B. Alexander. General Alexander outlines his views to the United States House Committee on Armed Forces in a statement reading, "My own view is the only way to counteract both criminal and espionage activity online is to be proactive. If the United States is taking a formal approach to this, then that has to be a good thing. The Chinese are viewed as a source of a great many attacks on Western infrastructure, and just recently, the United States electrical grid. If that is determined to be an organized attack, I would want to go down and take down the source of those attacks. The only problem is that the internet, by its very nature, has no borders, and if the United States takes on the mantle of the world's police, that might not go down so well." This explains why General Alexander believes the Cyber Command should be established. U.S. Cybercom is composed of several service components and units from military services who provide their joint services. They also work in part with the Army, Navy, Air Force, and Marine Corps. The Cyber Command is the main force that protects the United States from cyber attacks and helps to police the internet and reduce other cyber attacks.
Hi, my name is Josh Johnson, and I will be discussing the methods of cyber warfare. The first method is espionage and national security breaches. Through this method, hackers obtain secret, sensitive, proprietary, or classified information from individuals, competitors, rivals, groups, governments, and enemies for military, political, or economic advantage using illegal exploitation methods on the internet, networks, software, and/or computers. Classified information that is not handled securely can be intercepted and even modified, making espionage possible from the other side of the world. Codenames such as Titan Rain and Moonlight Maze have been given for specific attacks on the United States. The recent established Cyber Command is currently attempting to determine theft of intellectual property and commercial espionage. These are criminal attacks or actual breaches of national security. It is believed that China has been the culprit of espionage, but has not yet been fully proven. China has several reasons for them to participate in such crimes, mainly to ascend in the international system. The three reasons for their strategy of doing this is to deterrence through infiltration of critical infrastructure, military technological espionage to gain military knowledge, and industrial espionage to gain economic advantage. Attacks traced back to China include cyber intrusions on a nuclear arms laboratory, attacks on defensive ministries including the Joint Strike Fighter and Air Base, and the U.S. electrical grid. China has more to gain from this crime than any other country. This is a serious crime, and the safety for any country could be at stake. The second method of cyber warfare is sabotage. Computers and satellites for coordination used by military and other governmental departments are at risk of equipment disruption. Their orders and any type of communication they have can be intercepted and replaced with a fake, as well as communication, fuel, power communications, water, and transportation infrastructures can all be attacked and vulnerable to disruption. The civilian level of security is also at risk. We have already seen and bared witness to identity theft and stolen credit cards. There is already multiple components in use by the public and could lead to sabotage on some level. Cell phones, just an everyday ordinary device, can be used for sabotage due to the technological advances some have. The realization that military-grade virus could be used to scare some people and should scare them. Their concern for the safety of our weapons system. In the hands of the wrong people, there could be any number of threats made against our country, and the culprit would know the defensive measures and how to combat them better. Other potential targets through sabotage could include electric power grids, trains, and even our stock market. Any one of these areas are vulnerable and can cause great harm if they were sabotaged. The third method of cyber attack is attack on the electric power grid. The electric power transmission is susceptible to cyber warfare and is admitted to by the federal government. The United States Department of Homeland Security works with industries to identify vulnerabilities and help industries enhance the security of the control system networks. The federal government is also working to ensure that security is built into the next generation smart grid networks when they're developed. In 2009, reports that China and Russia were able to infiltrate the U.S. electrical grid and left behind software programs that could be used to disrupt the system. Also, the North American Electric Reliability Corporation, also known as NERC, has issued a public notice that only reinforces what the government already knows and warns us that the electric grid is not adequately protected from attacks. In 2007, a test at the Idaho National Laboratory, government hackers were able to break into the control system running the program and running a large diesel generator, causing it to self-destruct. One way to protect ourselves from electric grid attacks is to disconnect it from the internet and run it with a droop speed control only. Power outages by cyber attacks to the electric grid could also cause national trauma and disrupt the economy.
The future of cyber warfare. The rise of cyber warfare in our society, it seems as if the need for it will always grow. In 2010, the Pentagon spent $120 million on the budget for cyber warfare. This year, that number has increased to $208 million. Many speculate that in the next 5 years it will break the $500 million mark. With the increase of technology in our military, it seems as if all of our equipment will be connected to the internet somehow. Viruses will no longer be something that is set to ruin your personal computer and prevented with antivirus software. It will eventually be extremely dangerous and be able to take out a whole sector of the military. They will be able to control and take over all of our equipment and turn our weapons against us. The field is and will be the most important part of the military in the future. The military is realizing that this will eventually be the future of conventional warfare, and without the needs of guns and carnage. The only way for this technology to go is up. Our conclusion. With the expansion of the internet to important sectors of the government, it seemed only a matter of time before people would try to obtain secret government information. This has become relevant in the last few years all around the world. All countries are beefing up their cybersecurity to combat these malicious attacks. There are many ways that a person could breach a country's security that it seems as if this will be the future of warfare.